back for another edition of Ask Father Silva. And today's question is fasting for meat on Fridays for all Fridays? Can you substitute another sacrifice in its place? This is a great question, right? Contrary to common misconception, abstinence from meat on Fridays throughout the year has never been abolished by Roman law. It wasn't abolished by the Second Vatican Council. It wasn't abolished by Paul VI. It wasn't abolished by John Paul II. It wasn't abolished by the 1983 Code of Canon Law, right? It's never been abolished, right? It remains a universal law of the Latin Church, right? Even if not everyone has to obey it. Now, let's read the Code of Canon Law. It says in Canon 1249, the divine law binds all the Christian faithful to do penance, each in his or her own way, in order for all to be united among themselves by some common observance of penance. However, penitential days are prescribed on which the Christian faithful devote themselves in a special way to prayer, perform works of piety and charity, and deny themselves by fulfilling their own obligations more faithfully, and especially by observing fast and abstinence according to the norm of the following canons. The penitential days and times in the Universal Church are every Friday of the whole year and the season of Lent. Abstinence from meat or from some other food as determined by the Episcopal Conference is to be observed on all Fridays unless a solemnity should fall on a Friday. Abstinence or fasting are to be observed on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, right? Now, we have to look at the Episcopal Conference, right? So the USCCB, right, the conference here in the United States, which says that they issued a pastoral statement on penance and abstinence. It says, in which they declared, among other things, among the works of voluntary self-denial and personal penance, which we especially commend to our people for the future observance of Friday, even though we hereby terminate the traditional law of abstinence binding under pain of sin as the sole prescribed means of observing Friday, we give first place to abstinence from flesh meat. We do so in the hope that the Catholic community will ordinarily continue to abstain from meat by free choice as formerly we did in obedience to church law. Basically, what it's saying is, even though it remains a part of our Code of Canon Law, right, the Episcopal Conference in their pastoral letter removed it as a pain of sin, meaning it's not sinful to eat meat on Fridays, but it has always been the intention of the Church. The reality is, many people will ask, right, is it a sin if I do X, Y, Z? Many people, right, and I'm not saying all of you who are watching this video, but many people will say, right, what can I do so that I'm not entering into sin? Basically, we want to push the line as far as we possibly can. The better question is, what is good? What am I made for? And what is the intention of these laws of the Church, right? We're not just talking about the letter of the law, we're talking about the spirit of the law. And the spirit of the law certainly is to observe certain days during the week, especially Wednesdays and Fridays, Fridays being the primary day of fasting and prayer and abstinence. It's the day that our Lord died on the cross, right, throughout the whole year. I think we would all do well, myself included, to be more penitential during our weeks. And certainly when we got rid of much of the traditions of the liturgical calendar year with ember days and things such as those, right, we lost a great deal of what it meant to have intentional days throughout the calendar year, not just in those penitential seasons of Advent and Lent, of what it meant to really fast. So, is it still a law of the Church to fast and abstain from meat on Fridays throughout the whole calendar year? Yes. Is it under pain of sin? Not since the 1966 pastoral statement on penance and abstinence in the United States Church. So I think it's very important for all of us to maybe reflect and say we can be more intentional about abstaining from meat on Fridays. And the reality is, get a pizza. Make some pasta, right? Fish is delicious. Whatever the case may be, there's many things. It's less so about imposing great restrictions on ourselves and saying I can do great things by fasting and abstaining from all this stuff, as it is to do these little reminders that we have to pray and fast, and those things are efficacious, right? When our Lord said to his apostles, there are certain demons that can only be driven out by prayer and fasting, that wasn't analogous, right? He was being very literal. And so there are certain aspects of our lives, certain demons in our lives, certain vices and situations that can only be driven out by prayer and fasting. And so fasting for meat on Friday, not too difficult. So hopefully this will cause some point of reflection to say, Lord, right, where can I be more penitential in my life? And is it really too much of a burden for me to abstain from meat on Fridays? The answer is probably no. So hope that helps. Hope that answered the question, and I'll see you again next week. God bless.